The beginning is a very delicate time. Welcome to the IMAET Nation. It is our passion and purpose finding answers to our most challenging health concerns. My journey as a scientist and energy healer have led me here, to the place where science and spirituality converge. This is where the answers are that unlock the full potential of the physiology. We do not accept dead-end diagnoses. We do not tolerate limitations. It is our birthright to live healthy, vibrant lives, and we are taking that back. Thank you for being here with me. Welcome back to your IMAET Nation video training series. This training video is going to be about running a diagnostic treatment session. So by this point, you know how to get in and close the curtains, open the voltage channels, and also go to most of the panels here on the main navigation screen, especially those ones on the left column that are plug and play. And we discussed in the last video some of these other panels that are partial diagnostic and partial plug and play treatment panels. There are lots of places to come in and do diagnostic work. And what I mean by that is when we want to get to answers, when we want to find the root causes behind things, we're going to come in a specific way into several different panels and look for reasons why there are symptoms, why there are conditions. We're looking for the answers in a diagnostic session. And you can always do partial diagnostic and partial treatment. So there are multiple panels to do this in. Today we are going to focus on the allergen panel. So the way to get into the allergen panel and start looking for answers is very specific. So what I've done at this point is I've come in, I'm in the client profile screen, I select the client I want, I click new visit, make sure it's on today's date, and hit the calibration button. And that's all I have done at this point because I wanted to show you from the very beginning how to get into the allergen panel and look for answers, because it's different than the way we have proceeded this far as getting in, opening the voltage channels, and going to one of these panels. How we proceed on this type of treatment is different. So we've just calibrated. Okay, so now we do go to the brain first always. So here we perform the bioscan. This first step here of performing the bioscan and then closing the curtains, we always do this. But from that point on, in this type of treatment, we're going to go about it a different way. And the reason for that is that once we start fixing things, we won't get the full answer in the allergen panel. So once we start fixing the spine and fixing the energy meridians, when we get to the allergen panel, we may have already fixed some of the root causes that we're looking to be flagged. But this thing we do fix. We do apply feedback here. We want all quadrants of the brain communicating for this session, for all sessions, but especially for this type of session. Okay, so once the curtains have closed, now we move on to the meridian page. And here we are going to perform a bioscan, but we're not going to fix the lows and the highs. We're not going to apply feedback. We're just going to take a look at what energy meridians are in the single digits, which ones are 90s and above. Helps to write it down. We're going to use this as clues. But again, if we start fixing this now, when we get to the allergen panel, which I also think could be called the search anything panel, we won't get the best answers if we've already started fixing things. So here we are. We've got the bioscan, and we're not going to touch it. When we come back in the second pass, so there's two main passes through the software in this type of treatment. And I want to point out that this type of treatment we only do a couple times a week. And we always give an integration day afterwards because we're going to get into the allergen panel and create what's called a treatment basket. And it does take quite a bit of ATP to accomplish this healing, and we need to let the body integrate the day after this type of session. So again, we perform the bioscan, but we don't fix anything. The first pass through into the allergen panel, we're just doing the bioscans. Now we go to the spine panel, and again, bioscan. The second pass through, so once we get all the way into the allergen panel, and we'll be looking at some things there and creating a treatment basket, we'll come all the way back out for what I call the second pass. On the second pass, we will return to these panels. These bioscans will still be here, and we will harmonize the highs and the lows, opening the voltage channels before we go back into the basket for the second time and actually run the basket. Okay, bioscan is performed. We can see single digits, nothing above a 56. Again, we are not fixing. We're just making note of what's here. Now we go to the allergen panel. A lot of time is spent in this panel. I also like to call it the search everything panel. Pretty much everything that's in the entire software you can put into this slot here that says test single item. And when you click this button, it will give you a number here where you can see these two question marks. And that number will be in a range of 1 to 100. And again, if it's something that belongs in the body, we're going to want it to be harmonized at 50%. We're going to want it to be balanced. But if it's something like a pathogen and it's low, if it doesn't belong in the body, we may not fix it or want to, because it's fine if pathogens are low. So now when you come in here, I've already performed the bioscan to save time because it takes a solid 5, 6, 7 minutes sometimes. It's an extensive list of thousands and thousands of items. So when you come in here the first time, this list would be alphabetized. I've already performed the bioscan in here to save time, so you can see that it has ranked these. And if I click the button again, it's going to say only one reactivity per related group is allowed. So you can't run a bioscan twice in one session. So if you're ever in here and you click that button and it gives you that error code, it means you haven't fully exited from the program, or you didn't click new visit and you're still in an old visit. Okay, once we come in and do this bioscan, it's going to rank these items high to low as far as what the body is aware of. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be treated, though. We still need to test each item to see if the body is triggered by it, if there's an allergy to it, or if it's barely aware of it. And, a lot of people ask, well, why doesn't it just rank it, the most concerning to the least concerning? It's a little bit complicated, and it's like we're muscle testing, and we've just asked the body to tell us what it is the most aware of and the least aware of. Doesn't mean it's a problem, though. For example, if this person had pinto beans for lunch, the body's aware that, it had pinto beans for lunch. If we test this and it's a 50, it's just saying we had pinto beans. If we test this and it's a 99, the body's saying we had pinto beans and we are totally inflamed because of it. So we still are going to check this list. And what we're looking for is items that are single digits. We're looking for items that are 90s and above. And we'll handle each one as we come to it. So when it's clicked in blue and you hit test single item, a 30. So this isn't overly concerning to the body. Here's an enzyme, test single item, 53. The body's aware of this enzyme and it's in complete balance. Wheat, 87. So that's a little elevated. I wouldn't necessarily treat it, but it is saying that we are aware of wheat, and we really don't like it, but maybe not need to be treated. So when we find an item that does need to be treated, and there will be all kinds of things on this list that don't make sense. There are reasons for all of these, and we will be going over the odd items in a separate video, but we can handle a few of them as we get to them. Here is a medication. How could this come up when someone is not taking this medication? Well, important always to see if the body's triggered by it, first of all, and the answer to that is a little bit diverse. The most likely thing is that there's a component of this medication, and we can look down into the narrative. There's a component there's a chemical that is similar enough to a chemical that is in this person that the IMAET is flagging it. This is a constantly evolving software, and Dr. Straley is always putting new information in. I mean, to have every single chemical and ingredient in will take quite some time. You can see how long this list is anyway. But there might be a chemical, if this person is not taking this medication, there might be a chemical in this medication that this person is getting exposed to, and this is how the body's pointing it out. But again, it's not of concern, so we're not going to touch it. Emotions are on this list. So this is a low, it's a little bit low, but the item is faithless. So is it concerning to me that faithlessness is low? No, not really. An emotion is something that does belong in the body, so we want it to be harmonized, but this isn't a 99, and so it isn't something that needs to be treated. Let's check pinto beans. 19. So the body's barely aware of this. This person may have had pinto beans the day before, and again, odd things will come up. Maybe this person doesn't eat pinto beans at all. Well, there's a component of pinto beans, like maybe it is a folate issue or a manganese issue or a copper issue. And so there's always a reason. Again, if it's super high, we would treat it. If it's low, we wouldn't, because this doesn't belong in the body. Vaccines are on this list. Here we go. Here's our first 90 and above. So the MMR2 vaccine is a 95. So this person's body is being triggered by this vaccine. Now, who knows when they may have gotten this vaccine? Maybe it was even as long ago, like decades ago. Could still be triggering this person's body. There are trails left by vaccines sometimes that continue to trigger the body. But this person's body is asking for some harmonization with this. It's called a screamer. 90s and above are the body's screaming for some help with this. So we can treat this right here. We want to make sure it's highlighted. We're going to come over here and we're going to select all the feedback choices here. So it's going to address the MMR vaccine in all these areas, like top to bottom, in, out, up, down, all around, systemically, energetically, all that. We set the time to 0. And we're going to hit this quick cycle button. When we click feedback, it's going to harmonize this and address all the additional feedback as well, which is what we want. Now, we can address things singly here, or this is where we get into the treatment basket. So pretend like I didn't just treat that singly. We're looking for about 30 items to get over into what's called a treatment basket. So we have found one. Now, how you get there from this screen, there are 2 ways. You can double finger tap, not click, but double finger tap on the trackpad, or you can put your finger right on the screen on that item until a little box pops up. Remove your finger and it takes you over here. This is the treatment basket area. So we are going to create a basket, a bunch of things that need to be treated. And instead of treating them singly in the allergen panel, we'll treat them all together. So when you can see it's highlighted here, you're going to add it. And now we have started our first basket. Make sure to hit save right away. You can see today's date. Now, every time we get back in, this basket will be here. And you'll see that next time we come back in. We've got our first item. We go back to the allergens. So we're continuing down this list. We're looking for low numbers. We're looking for high numbers. Radiation markers will be on here. Foods will be on here. So here is an antibiotic that is a 2, which means that the body is barely aware of it. That's fine with me. It doesn't belong in the body. Again, we don't want to waste ATP on things that don't really need to be treated. Usually when someone's being worked on in the IMAET, even if it's yourself, there are some, intense symptoms that we want to knock down. This isn't contributing to those symptoms, so we don't want to waste any ATP on it. You got peanuts. Also, the body's barely aware of peanuts. That's fine. Ligaments, a little low, but we're going to be picky here and just look for single digits in 90s and above. Fabrics come up here. Parts of the eyes come up here. Lots of emotions will come up here. Here we go. So parting, this emotion is a 100. So we don't want emotions to be over 90 either, even if it's a positive emotion like happiness as a 100. Well, that sounds great. No, what it means is that happiness is around, but it's not being accepted or utilized. It works the same way that vitamins do. Like B12 being a 100 in here, that's not a good thing because it means that the body isn't using it. We want things to be 50 that belong in the body, and emotions do. So this person's parting emotion is a 100. So this could mean, you know, this needs to happen and they're not allowing it, they're not accepting it, something like that. So we are definitely going to add that in to the basket. And we're moving on. Genes. Viruses will be here. Here we go. We've got a virus. Putting it in. And again, this is a good point. It's a good time to point out, don't be afraid of things that come up here, pathogen related. Things present energetically way before they present physically. When we see something coming up again and again and again and again, like every single time, then likely, yes, it is presenting physically. But we can treat it energetically, so there's nothing to worry about here. All kinds of foods in here. We've got mold in here. Ooh, there's a mold, mildew. This is a fungus that is high. We definitely don't want that to be high. So we're continuing down this list, and I just want to kind of scroll through this list so you can see the different things on here. We got organophosphates, kidney beans, mold, feathers. Again, these odd items, there's a reason for pointing to it. Dendritic cells, pine needles. We've got E. coli. We've got a prostate gland. That's spring pollen, hydrogen peroxide. Let's just test cucumbers. Cucumbers are low. That's okay. Cardiac plexus. Okay. So what we're doing is we're scrolling down through. We're looking for about 15 items, 30 in total, but on this first step, 15 items that are going into what I call the starter treatment basket. So we're scrolling maybe the top 30-ish. And we also want to take the cursor all the way down to the bottom and look at these items down here. The body will put things at the very top and the very bottom that need to be addressed. So we're down here at the very bottom. We're looking at these things. We're looking for highs. We're looking for lows. So that's a 1. You know, your eyes will be flagged by that. What is this? This is an organophosphate. Okay, well, that does not belong in the body, so I'm fine that the body's barely aware of it. That's a little, you know, that's almost a single digit. And the bronchus are definitely a part of the body. Let's go ahead and put that in. Compulsive is a 95. Let's put that in. Needs to be balanced. Even emotions that are negative need to be in harmony, in balance. There's a place and there's a time and a place for something like anger when used appropriately and in balance. It's when it's hyperactive that it becomes a problem. Right? Like the difference between hot and cold anger. Hot anger is like an explosion, and cold anger is like a surgeon's scalpel that's precise and goes in and removes only what's necessary. So there's a purpose for balanced emotions. Okay, this is a part of the brain that is a screamer. Putting it in. Okay. Now, let's say we've found about 15 items among the top 30-ish and the bottom 20-ish. Back to the allergen panel. We also want to customize this to each person and each situation, each snapshot time that we're in. So this is where we're going to use the search bar here and look for things that are known to be going on. First of all, ATP. I always like to search ATP find it on the list. Let's test it. 99. This is great that this just happened so I can explain this. So the body needs enough ATP to do this healing, and it will stick a lot longer if the body has enough ATP. This person's ATP, which is the energy currency of the mitochondria, this is what the body uses to do every single process, is a 99. So at first glance, you think, great, I've got a ton of ATP. No, what this means is the body's not using it. The body isn't utilizing ATP. So it's getting made in the mitochondria, but it's not getting through the electron transport chain. It's not getting out and used. So we're going to add that in. Let's balance ATP production and utilization so we can actually do this healing, and it will stick. Okay, so check ATP right away. Now, what else are we going to look for? It depends on what this person is going through. If this person is having back pain or kidney issues, we can search that here. So let's say that there's a known liver problem, liver congestion, something related to the liver. We type in liver, and now we're going to look for things on this list that are concerning. And again, we're looking for highs, we're looking for lows. Pancreas is obviously related to the liver. Pancreas is only a 10. Let's put that in. And almost any item you can search over here. And you don't have to test every item. You can scroll down and you can pick whatever you like from this list. Liver tissue, let's check that. Let's check anger, since we know anger likes to be in the liver. Anger looks balanced. Check vitamin D. Very low. It's a 1. That's as low as it can be. Nothing can be a 0. If you ever get a 0 here, it just means you need to click the test single item button again. Sometimes we just click it too fast. Okay, vitamin D needs to go in. Okay. Every time you hit clear, it'll take you back to that list that's already been ranked by the bioscan. It'll never unrank this once you do this. Okay, so also, each time you come in to do a basket like this. Okay, so we're calling this like a modified show method treatment session. And this is the show method database. And the show method was created by Dr. Straley. This is how he's working with patients, having success doing this a few times a week. And he created both of these lists. This list has everything available on it. This list over here is not just a shorter list. These are the items that pretty much everyone needs to address. There are allergies. Usually everyone has allergies related to the things on this list, at least some of them. So every time we come in to do this type of session, we want to pick a few of these that need to be worked on, maybe 2 or 3. So this is where good record keeping will come into play, because we're just going to start at the top. We're going to check this one, brain body function. It's low. Well, I would say brain body function is something that belongs in the body, so we need that to be balanced. So we put it in. Egg mix, and even if someone isn't consuming these foods, the body is flagging an allergy to it. So we want to harmonize that. We should be able to balance all allergies so that we can tolerate foods. We should be able to tolerate all these things that are in our environment that we've become allergic to. We just need to point the immune system to them, give the body enough ATP, give the body what it needs, the nutrients it needs, and the immune system can handle all this. So let's just find one more. Vitamin C mix is low. We definitely need vitamin C. All right, so let's say between these two lists, we've come up with 30 items. We've got some enzymes, some genes, maybe some viruses, some emotions, some food components, and we've got a few items from over here. So now we have what is called our our treatment basket for the day. And again, we only do this a few times a week. Now, here's where we go back out and come back in to the basket for the actual treatment. It will still be there when we come back. But once we've got 30 items in there, we're going to go all the way back to the brain. It's going to ask you this question: would you like to view and save a client report? Click no. Again, there are parts of the software still being developed. Clicking yes right now will only take up space on your computer. That's not necessary. Okay, so back in the brain screen, we see that we've already closed the curtains, and that's still registered here. So now we're going to treat our way back in the way that we normally would have started a treatment session. So we're going to go to the anatomical button. We're going to click limbic system. This is the Texas two-step, doing closing the curtains and the limbic system. Set the time to 0. We hit feedback. And again, we're wanting this to get as close to 100 as we can. We don't have to linger at 98 or 99 if we see that it's just not quite getting there, because we want to spend most of the time in the treatment basket. So let's say this has gotten to 98. We're satisfied with that. We go to the meridians. Now here is the scan that we performed the first time through, and the numbers are still here. So we don't want to just click 0 and feedback, because then it will cycle through all these. And we can see that these three actually, red, yellow, blue, don't need to be fixed. So let's not waste ATP on them. Let's just go with the first one that does need to be fixed. Okay. And where you start is up to you. It doesn't matter which single digit you pick. Set the time to 0, feedback. And you'll see that one blinking while it's working on it. And again, we know how to do this part. So I'm going to go through this a little bit faster. We know how to click on each item, harmonize it to close to 100, and click on the next. So we do the same thing here in the spinal panel. We fix the single digits and any 90s and above if they were there. And right from here, back to the allergen panel. We'll see the list ranked as it was with the bioscan. And right from here, we're just going to double finger tap, or anywhere on the list, the comprehensive database list, anywhere on there you can put your finger, and when that little box pops up, remove your finger, takes you over here. And look what we've got, our treatment basket. Today's date. We can see the exact items that we added are saved in here. Now, how we run this basket is also very specific. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this time to 0. We're not going to select these yet. We're not going to click the quick cycle. We're going to hit feedback, and we're going to watch this blue bar pass, and this bar is just going to cycle through all of these items. And you'll see as it's cycling, the percent harmonized is changing. Some of them are harmonizing very quickly. Some are taking a lot longer. And this bar will just keep passing. Once it gets to 30, it'll start over at 1 again. It'll just keep passing through these items again and again and again. This is where, yes, we want to be attentive to this, but this will take some time. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. So it's all right to, sometimes at this point, putting dishes away or getting dinner started and just keeping an eye on this, right? And once we notice, and again, it's all right that some of them are going to hit 100 and others aren't. When it's passing over those ones that have already hit 100, it's not going to hurt that marker at all. It cannot over harmonize something. It's just going to keep it harmonized. So we're just watching to see here. Now here's the second pass. We're watching to see when everything is almost at 100. Again, 97s, 98s, 99s, pretty dang close enough. Again, we don't want to just tax out the body's ATP. So let's pretend every item here is pretty close to 100. Now we're going to stop the feedback. We're going to click all of these combinations, just like we would have back in the allergen panel. We're going to hit quick cycle. We're going to hit feedback. It's going to treat these again one more time. Now, even though this is set to 0, this is the one time the software will stop on its own. So that's good to note. It's going to pass over everything one more time. And then it's going to apply each of these combinations. And you'll see when it's on each one, because it will blink, 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 move on to the next, blink, blink, blink. Once it gets down to hormone balance and has applied it to every item on the list, the software will stop on its own. Just pretend that it has gotten to that. So it's called buttoning up the basket. So it gets done, it applies the combinations, and then it stops right here. So at this point, we have successfully run a treatment basket. We've done diagnostic work in the allergen panel to create this basket. We can search anything we want. There are a couple things to note here. We don't want to put too many pathogens in this basket, especially in the first few months you're working on someone. You can cause a Herxheimer reaction. You don't want to push people that hard. If you're going to attempt this with yourself, make sure to take a binder. But we want a good balance of 5 or so genes, 5 or so enzymes, some nutrients, some food triggers, some pathogens, yes, ATP, mitochondrial support, a rounded out basket. If we come in here and put too many pathogens or radiation markers or toxins, it can cause someone to be very tired. And we don't want that. We want people to feel good after their sessions. So once we've run this session for today, this basket will be saved in here. In the future, we'll be able to name these, because you can create custom baskets for yourself as far as things that you know that need to be run, like histamine or headache. If you know the reason for your headache by finding it diagnostically, you can create a basket for yourself with those items and you'll be able to name it. But for now, you'll come back in and you'll just double click on the date to take you back to this basket, which will always be here. So again, back in the allergen panel, we can just stay in here in a treatment session. We don't have to create a basket. And this is tremendously beneficial because we can search all kinds of things. Like vaccine, for example, we can test whether vaccines and their components are triggering someone. And the toxins in these vaccines can definitely still be triggering someone decades later. Even if the toxin isn't present itself, the damage it has done would be reflected in here. Look for viruses. And on the virus page, you'll see things that are not viruses. Well, Dr. Straley is intentionally building these lists to be things that would be affected by viruses and are helpful to look at. So this gene, if it's low functioning, is very helpful to add into a treatment basket if you've got a lot of viruses that are high. You can search emotions. And again, you can test these. We have found that it seems more beneficial to work on the positive emotions versus the negative ones. This is just up for debate. Everybody works through these panels differently. But what many of us are finding is that it's like a balancing mechanism. If you've got something like rage that's high, and you've got something like happiness that's low, or acceptance, or joy, let's find a positive one. Happiness. Let's say happiness. We've got rage at a 99 and happiness at a 2. It seems that by upregulating happiness, it tames the rage as well. That doesn't always seem to happen when we lean on the negative emotion. Yes, we can knock it down, but it doesn't seem to stick as well. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if putting the attention on the negative emotion, it lingers there. Again, this is you'll find your way through these panels and notice different things, and we'd love to hear from you about this. But in my experience, I've found that working on the positive emotions, not only does it pull them up, it seems to pull the negative emotions up as well. And again, we only have so much ATP to spend. What else can we search here? Enzymes. You can look for pancreatic enzymes. If you're wondering about a food, am I allergic to corn? Come in here and test it. There's several markers for corn in here. And if you're having an allergy to something, it's a good idea to take 48 hours off eating it. Even 25 hours off, 24 hours off. Especially when you run that item, the body can clear an allergy very, very quickly. Okay, so once we've done this, the session for the day is over. So we're gonna make sure to, nope, we don't need to save a copy. We get to this screen and we're gonna make sure to X out of this program completely in between. So this session we run a couple times a week. This is one of the most commonly used diagnostic and treatment sessions. We give an integration day afterwards. It's very helpful. Let the body integrate what healing we're doing here. And then we're keeping track. We want to look for those same items maybe the next time and see, are they still triggering the body? And you can track and see what the body's letting go of and how the body's healing. Okay, that's today's session. The next few sessions will cover some frequently asked questions and also some of the other diagnostic panels.